Hello, and we've made it.
Here we
There's
are.
2 people here.
Bring out the champagne, eh?
I think a lot of people
Hello,
are surprised. But Antoinette, maybe before we start talking, maybe you just want to explain about which button you missed, because I know it's quite easy to get onto StreamYard, but we've had a lot of people who have not been able to get onto StreamYard. And so through this accident of Tuesday, we have managed to figure out why we can't get into StreamYard. So Antoinette, tell me what you did on purpose so that you could tell them how to get on.
No, I messed up, and I'm not saying other people are doing that, but I clicked through on the link and I saw the box and you weren't there, and I thought that was it because my screen only showed me the box. But if you scroll down a bit, it asks you to enter your name and then press a blue tab, and that lets you in. So silly me, I didn't scroll down. I just sat there waiting for you.
I've got a feeling a lot of people didn't know that. And because I'm never going from outside, I didn't know to say that to anybody. But now we know. Every accident has something we can learn from it, and so it's great, and it's fine. We're 2 nights later, and we are ready, and we hope everybody else is ready. Yeah, so welcome everybody. Thank you for coming, and thank you for persevering. And we love your comments, and we love having you around. And thank you so much for your patience. And
yes, thank you.
Yeah, we're on fire. We've been wanting to have this conversation now for the last the last week, since we realized that we needed to have this conversation, which is another story altogether. Right, do you want to go, Antoinette, or do you want to explain, or do you want me to
explain? Why are we doing this session?
Yeah, so, maybe a little bit of background. Okay, all right, so I'll tell you what. So for me, I wasn't enjoying the format of our last 2 sessions as much, and but it's a learning experience, really. And then you from the other side had a similar kind of experience, right?
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't feel it was great. Yeah.
Okay, now you can tell the story.
So it's so interesting. I didn't feel comfortable about the last 2 lives. I felt for various reasons, but it took me so long to give Louise feedback or to open a conversation with her about it. I was like so cautious, like, how do I say this, and should I say it, and I don't know if I should rock the boat, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it was all great. And so I ended up knowing I had to communicate what I wanted to communicate, but I censored it. So I wrote an email and I rewrote it, and I was all delicate, and Louise can just see straight through things. I don't know if she's psychic or what, but she said to me on a WhatsApp, "Stop censoring yourself." And I'm like, am I? I didn't even know I was. And then I sat back and took a breath, and I realized what I was doing is, instead of just speaking my truth from a place of love, I was like, should I or shouldn't I? And which part should I say? And how should I say it? And what is the right way to say it? So when I realized I'd done that, then I asked myself, because I'm very self-aware now, as you know, why was I doing that? Why was I vetting it? Why was I not just saying what I wanted to say? So really, it became clear to me quite quickly, but only because of all the work I've done of self-awareness and transformation, is that I am scared of being judged and criticized and rocking the boat. And underlying all of that really is a fear of rejection, and underlying that is a fear of abandonment, actually. If you really draw right down through all the layers. So yeah, so we felt it was a very important topic, and it ties very well together with sensitivity, or what I would call oversensitivity. I realized quite a few years ago how sensitive I am and reactive I am. Even if I don't show my reactions, I take things so personally. and I'm so sensitive.
Yeah.
And I
So
thought that was a strength, but you pointed out that there's sensitivity and sensitivity.
okay, so we could talk about the sensitivity in a minute, but I just want to give a teensy little bit more background here. Okay, so remember we said we're going to get down and dirty here. So there was 2 triggers for you, and so I think it's important that people know that triggers can be really tiny and small. So what you're talking about, Antoinette, is the fear of judgment and all of those things, which are not available to us to just tune into. It's like you've done a lot of work, so you already understand that behind the trigger there's a fear. And so you know to go to it and go ask what is the fear. But the obvious triggers were it was unprocessed and it led you to doubt yourself because the first one was somebody who said to you that you talk too much. Well, you do talk a lot, so it's 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 quite easy to see that. I mean, it's not like you can say no. I'm always quiet. Where do you get that? So it's quite easy to take that to heart. But it's like I said to you. We're strong women and we've got opinions and we've earned them. Like have them and share them. So, but you were sensitive to it at the time, and so that was still sitting in the back of your head. That was unprocessed. And then.
And I pendulum swung actually to doing the opposite. So instead of over talking like on the last live read, I didn't talk at all.
Yes, that's why I hated it. That was like really like, Antoinette, you're making me work so hard. Yes, like I might get a response out of you. What? So, but on the first live was the second trigger, which was where I asked you to let me finish what I was saying, because I have focus problems from having had adrenal fatigue, and my thyroid's not the one most. I've got half a thyroid really, so I've got focus problems, and so that's why I stopped you, not because you talk too much, because I have a problem. And this is important to notice, that when people ask us stuff, we make it about ourselves immediately. So you had the old judgment sitting there. I talk too much when I ask you to not interrupt me, so that I can just finish it, so I don't forget, which is what I ask you. I say I need to finish my train of thought so I don't forget. And you were vulnerable to it because you had the old judgment sitting there. But it was all about me and not about you talking too much. But that's why we have to explain this. This is why we've got to go back and take out the story, because this is what we humans do. We do exactly that. We walk around with something old inside us that's hurt. We haven't looked at it. We haven't, like, okay, fine, I talk too much, or maybe yes, I need to fix it, or the other person just wanted me to agree with them, and therefore they got me to shut up in a very effective way, or whatever, whether it was valid or not. And sometimes it's valid, and sometimes it's not valid, and we have to examine it, and we have to see, I need to change, or I have to toss it out the window, or I have to find a middle way where maybe sometimes and maybe sometimes not, but I mustn't be sensitive about it. I must work with it at the time. And if we don't, it comes back and it bites us like this. And so the second thing is that if we have now a connection to the original trigger, then we have to notice we're going to make something that's not about us, because the old trigger sits there. And this can be applied in literally any situation. And that's why people are touchy or sensitive. Because we walk around with old hurts, and then we are sensitive. I mean, sensitive has got other parts to it, but this is one of the parts to sensitive. This is probably the more negative one, I would say, Antoinette.
Overreaction. And
Yes.
and taking things too personally, and it's always my fault. I always I'm the one that's always messed up. And even after all my inner transformational work, I still fell into that trap now with you. It's like, oh, I've messed up. So now I'll just shut up. It's like, yeah. So oversensitivity and taking things personally and overreacting, therefore, actually, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like a button thing, the button thing is human. This is technology. I mean, I went on Facebook 5 o'clock today live. I was sort of forced to go on Facebook because Facebook wouldn't let me cancel the live that I scheduled as a practice of it. Me and you can try and figure it out. And, it's technology. We're not always going to get it right. It's new things. It's like there's no such thing as being perfect. And as we figure it out, we figure it out. But it is putting that very heavy, I don't call it a load. Really, it's like it's a very strict rule book that we put inside of ourselves, outside of ourselves, and this is what we have to strive to. This rule book that we made up for ourselves, and if we're not in the parameters, we're not good enough, and we fail as human beings. We must just toss out that rule book, and we must just do every single day the best we can, and be kind to ourselves, love ourselves, and carry on, and make mistakes, and learn from it, and laugh about it.
Why do we have those rule books? From a base of low self-esteem, or?
It's those fears really that the base is low self-esteem, but
Louise, you've disappeared, by the way. Your face is gone.
oh, I can see
I can
myself.
hear you. Well, we can't see you. It's a blank wall.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes, but not see you.
Ha. No?
Now you're back, but I'm gone.
Okay, now.
Well, you're
Now?
still not in the You're not in the picture.
Oh my word. Okay, let me see what else I can do here. That one? No, you're tiny.
No, I can only see the wall still, not you.
I haven't moved.
That's so weird. On my picture, I can only see a little bit of your hair.
No?
No, it's the same.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to have to do ghost speaking then. I don't know where. You see, that's because you sent me a ghost emoji. Okay, well, that was me after all. Okay, so Antoinette, so you were saying just now about the fear, the self-esteem, and the fears that cause us to. Where were we? Do what?
Yeah, why do we have these rigid things and we put in place for ourselves in order to, well, I certainly have my whole life. It's like very strict and rigid, like this is the way I must be, or otherwise I'm not okay.
Yes, yeah, and it is really anybody who grew up in internalized hurts, and they become limiting beliefs. And then the limiting beliefs is the thing that makes us follow a rule book, because then we feel safe and we feel in control. And so we have to examine these limiting beliefs. I talk too much. It's a limiting belief. It's a new one. You learned about it later in life, but you still decided to take it on board. Limiting beliefs is I have to be perfect, otherwise I'm not acceptable, or I'm not enough as I am, so I have to strive harder and harder. So, but behind them is the thing that you mentioned earlier, which is the fears. Now, which fear did you mention? Fear of judgment. Remember, I said to you, I don't have a memory. So, fear of judgment, fear of whichever ones you mentioned.
Well, I think underneath, if you drill down below that, it ends up becoming fear of rejection and ultimately abandonment. So it's so my ego tries to keep me safe and loved by me not showing up to. So I censor myself so that I don't rock the boat too much, I guess.
I can be liked, I can be acceptable, I can feel that I'm fitting into a certain norm.
And it's a subconscious, as you know. I can catch it now because I do this work every day of my life, but it's very subconscious, that behavior, that for human beings is we react in a certain way to be liked and to be loved and to stay safe. Actually, meanwhile, a lot of those things we do are the very things that do the opposite.
Yes. It's subconscious now, and then as we become more aware and we stop the habits, it's very bad habits. As we stop the habits, we build new neural pathways in our head, because this is the wonderful thing about positive neuropsychology, is that we can change our neural pathways. So we go away from the old ones that leads to the amygdala, and we cement new healthy pathways in our head, because we start using the frontal lobes, which is about logic. And then once we do that, that whole fear, pain, and rejection, I'm going to die because I'm going to be abandoned sequence gets switched off. And that's a very real thing. When we get that sequence, okay, you talk too much, I'm judged, I'm going to be abandoned, nobody's going to like me anymore, I'm going to die. Now, the reaction is the reaction of a 3 or 4-year-old. It's not the adult woman who's clearly awesome and can take care of herself, but that reaction is real, 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 real. And it causes a cortisol reaction in us. And so we feel sick. The throat closes up, the heart is beating, we're sometimes shaking and sweaty, and our voice sometimes shake, and we've got this churning pit in the stomach, where our stomach is supposed to be, and our adrenal levels and our cortisol levels spike. So head stops working. All the blood is in our feet. And so all logic goes away. And so the reaction is real, but the reason we're having it is rubbish. If somebody says to you, you talk too much, you're not going to die. You're going to go like, I talk too much? Okay. When? Where? What must I do? Or you talk rubbish because I like talking so much. Or, okay, I'll talk a little bit less, and maybe you can talk a little bit less too, and we can both talk, So there are like all these scenarios which adults have got. But that reaction is real. And because we've had that reaction such a long time, it's a horrible reaction to have. It's horrible, we feel sick. We don't want to have it, so we try and prevent it. Don't judge me because I'm going to have that reaction. I'm going to die. Don't reject me. I'm going to have that reaction. I'm going to die. Don't abandon me. I'm not going to survive this. Somebody rejects you, so what? You'll get over it. Somebody abandons you, go and build a new tribe. Somebody judges you, not your problem. They are broken people. People judge you for being human. Give them much love and let them move on. So none of these things kills us, but we have a reaction that tells us that it kills us.
Paul's got a good question here, Louise.
Eh?
Paul posted a good question while you're on this.
Okay. Could you read it?
Yeah, is the rule setting an extension of the childish need to control the environment because of the chaos we lived with? Is it an extension of the rigid rules applied to us as kids, which we now need to give us that same sense of being all right?
Yeah, it's 100% spot on. Paul's very clever. He's already put himself in the link and he's watching on Facebook. So that's more or less what everybody's supposed to be doing if you wanted to come in and chat afterwards. So Paul, it's absolutely spot on. It's such a good observation, because the stuff that we learn, all these coping skills that we learn as children, we believe it as the holy gospel. It's the only way to live, and so we hold on to them for dear life, and they become entrenched in us, and they become the rule book. So any of the behaviors that we learned as children become so very important to us that we will keep on doing it, because they manage to get us to adulthood. But also, if we had any kind of insecurity or a loss of safety as children, we're going to need to control things more. So anyway, if you've been judged a lot or rejected, or if you had instability in your house, you moved around a lot, or you had alcoholics or addiction or a mental illness, any of those things that helped you, which forced you to lose your sense of safety in the world, then you're going to have to control the world more and more and more and more. Okay. Any other questions, Antoinette?
Louise, sorry, it's really hard. We can't see you. Can you not move a bit to the right? We can only see your cupboard.
No?
There, I can see you now. Yes. There we go.
Can you
now
see me?
I can see you. Yes.
I'm falling
That's
off.
better.
Wait, let me move a cat on my lap. There's a cat on my lap. So let me move her. When I moved my chair, otherwise I'm going to fall off. I was just perching on the edge. Can you see me?
Yes, perfectly now. Yes.
Okay, right. That's really weird.
Better.
No more ghosting. Okay. All right. Look,
So
what's going
on? Paul said it's happening because we haven't grown our self-belief to the point that we can do things differently.
Yeah, you're so clever. Yeah. And also it hasn't become a habit. It has to become a habit. We have
It's repetitive practice over time, I found in myself. It's like, it doesn't just happen straight away when you get the awareness. It's like, for me, I'm better and better and better all the time. And I was surprised when this hit happened this time with you, because it doesn't happen that often anymore. But yeah, it was a big one this time. But repetitively, the more we do this over the time, the more we rewire those neurons and it stops happening. Hey, am I right?
No, absolutely. Look, let's look at Antoinette, it's not going to happen with everybody. It's going to happen, first of all, if you are in a live stream and you know the whole world's watching you, then there's all kinds of external forces that come into play. You've got to have really good self-esteem to not, care at us. So, that's there already. The second thing is, it really depends on who you are with at a certain time, because some people are just going to intimidate us more than others. And we're going to have certain kinds of role models. For me, I used to have a bit of an automatic reaction about in school you've got the ringleaders, and that ringleader effect used to prime me well into adulthood. I think it's probably something that happens with a lot of people. So we have to become very aware of who is the kind of people that are actually going to trigger us, so that we can go and find out the source of it. Because for me, if I was still as an adult being triggered by a ringleader scenario from school, then there was a little bit of unfinished business that I needed to go and take care of. So I first had to become aware that in this kind of situation, I feel unsure, and therefore some of my vulnerabilities are going to come out. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and I think it's when maybe, different situations definitely trigger it more than others. Yeah. So it was also when I wanted to give you feedback about us changing our format, it was so hard for me to do that. And so why? Maybe the dynamic between me and you, maybe the stakes were high, maybe I don't know, but I did it in the end. But but you still saw through it. It's like, no, you're censoring yourself.
Sometimes when we like and respect people, then we are going to not want them to not like and respect us back. Okay, so that's, and it is our relationship, because I used to be a coach and now we're friends. And so there's been a lot of shifts in our relationship over the years. but there's mutual respect, and one doesn't like losing that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got to go back, Antoinette, you've got to go ask yourself, which part of your belief system tells you people are not going to like you if you speak your truth? And a nice
And that I don't trust myself and I don't trust my truth. It's like, sure, what is it about? Because I was a successful person, I mean, relatively, but now when I really am so self-aware, I realize how much I don't trust myself, actually. It's incredible. It's getting better and better. Now with this community work I'm doing here, I've just stepped right over that barrier. I just took it with me and I leaped. And it's just incredible. The results has been so positive, but I had to step so out of my comfort zone, knowing that I was stepping out of my comfort zone. Sometimes that's the only way we can push through a limiting belief system, I think, is just to take it with us and do it anyway.
You've got to work through it. Limiting belief doesn't go poof, bye-bye. It goes, this is my fear, and I'm going to walk into it. And the minute you walk into it, it goes away. It literally goes away. And we're talking about public speaking, and the first time when I did any public speaking, there's 12 people, and two of them were my friends who I commandeered up as just so that at least there's somebody. And I was shaky, and I wasn't as good at it as I could be. And the next time, I spoke in front of 600 people, and it was easier. And the next time, there was no fear. And my audience wouldn't let me stop. So that's just walking through a fear, because public speaking is a huge fear. And bearing ourselves to the world, because now we're talking about the judgment, how much judgment is out there. So we've got to walk through those fears, and we walk it by doing it. So you're completely right. Just walk through it. You go, you identify it, you look it in the eye, and you walk through it. And if you're passion driven, it gives you something a reason why you want to push yourself. So it's always good to have a passion, something that you are very committed to, because that will help you transform your limiting beliefs. It will give you the courage.
That is very true. Paul said it's hard in the beginning, and once again, it can only be done with loving guidance, encouragement, and support. I second that, actually.
Yeah.
That's why this kind of coaching is something I push so hard. I don't get a commission. I've had no stake in promoting you, but I know that the loving guidance, encouragement, support, and your honesty and shining a light on stuff is so valuable. It's just like, because sometimes we can't see it. Even when you're very self-aware, you're just going along, and you can't. But you're able to give that feedback, but with love, So thank
There's a
you.
long process where you work on yourself, and if you're lucky, you walk into a wall, and you have to address the next one. And there's a shorter process where you go after all the help that you can possibly get. I'm very blessed. I found myself a wonderful online assistant. He's fairly new with the job, and so he's learning some of these online challenges as I'm going through it. And this morning, I sent him an email. I said, look, I've got to sort out some code stuff and some tech stuff, and I'm going to talk to somebody who's an expert at this. And he sent me an email back, and he sent me a YouTube video. And I'm not interested in that. I am interested in talking to an expert, because the expert's been through it. So I am going to pay this expert to help me expedite my process, because I can go and sit and watch that YouTube video, or read another self-help book, or bash myself around until I get better at something. If I talk to the expert, she's going to come out in from outside. She's going to say, oh, no, Louise, look, here, there. And I've done this before, and here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I haven't answered my lovely assistant, because I didn't have time this morning to give him a long explanation. Maybe he needs a voice note. But sometimes you pay an expert because you want to expedite your process, because somebody from outside is going to see it, and somebody becomes an expert because they do something themselves. So So now let's talk about about the censoring yourself thing. And so all these areas that we censor ourselves in, because it goes together with a sensitivity thing. Because we say, I'm very sensitive to other people's feelings. I'm very sensitive to how I can upset somebody, or when somebody does something, I pick it up very easily because I'm very sensitive. So how would you describe that?
What, being oversen?
Yeah, your experience of it.
Of my oversensitivity.
Mm.
I take things too personally. That's what I mean by my oversensitivity. And I was a people pleaser of note, actually, but it was part of my success. I have to say, it made me a good salesperson. But I was a people pleaser because I can adapt to other people's needs, but I didn't know I was doing it to be liked, actually. And so a couple of things have happened in the last 3.5 years since I've been on this journey of self-transformation. Is I want to be a better version of myself, but I also want to be authentic. So sometimes they cross over still, because I'm like, when someone said to me, "You talk too much," it was a very valid comment and it was very valid feedback. As you know, I can overtalk. So I think nowadays I take those on and I don't feel trashed and I don't criticize myself, but I go, well, is there validity in this? And there was. So I wanted to not overtalk anymore. But I have found myself pendulum swinging, actually. So maybe I just didn't talk enough, like the last time we were together. But I think for me, my oversensitivity plays out in overreactions to things. Like I think I'm much more at fault than I am. Most people don't even notice things I notice. I think that there's not a lot of trust for me of other people. I think I can be a little bit paranoid in the past, a little just oversensitive to everything. Like other people wouldn't even think of reacting to something someone said, and I'm absolutely floored by it or furious or. So I don't know if that's what you mean.
Yes, it's one of the things. Sensitivity means a lot of things, but it generally, it's a. Let me just talk generally. So first of all, it's going to be I scan. I scan to see if I'm acceptable. I scan to see what kind of reactions people have. I scan so I can see how I can fit in. What must I do so that I fit in? So I scan because I don't feel safe, and I scan because I don't trust people, and I scan because I don't like myself enough to trust myself. I don't accept myself to just be real and show up. So I have to scan so that I can adjust me so that I can fit into the world. So there's like, wow, huge realization here. That is like really the problem, not showing up real, not being okay with showing up real.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So that's the switch. That's what we need to do. We're going to have to go. That's what we say. We're going to get down and dirty, and we're just going to lay it out there and like show what's really going on inside. What is all these things that we hide underneath the perfect exterior?
Mm-hmm.
And so the cure for it is show up and be real. Because the more real we are, the more people we attract to us. It's this polished, perfect exterior that is the wall around us that keeps people out of our lives, and that makes us lose people. And as soon as we just get real, whatever our version of real is, it's only one. We're the only one that can do that version of real. Nobody else can do it for us. That's the magic. That's the magic source. And you can fake it until you make it. You can be real and say, I'm going to be real, and I'm going to check how people are about me being real. Or you can go be real and go like, I'm going to not care, and you're going to just pretend you don't care until you don't care. Because if you start being real and you pretend you don't care, eventually you will not care. Or you can use logic, which is what I used just now. If you want to judge me, it means you as a human being have got a problem. And you need to work on yourself, because I love myself enough that I am happy to accept myself as a fallible human being with a lot of flaws, but I still like myself and I still respect myself and I still know that I was born acceptable. So there's logic. You can go through it in a logical sequence, and you can switch over amygdala and use your frontal lobes, and you can just keep on telling yourself the logical thing. So one of those two will help you to get to the other side. Fake it or use logic. And then
And also, Louise, I can't fake it till I make it, but the second one I can do. But what's really been useful for me is to stop when I realize what's happening, to stop and ask myself, why am I why do I do this, and where did it come from? And it's not about dwelling on the past at all. It's about going, aha, this is a pattern that's developed because of X, Y, Z in my past. And now I don't need to do it anymore because I can reparent myself now. That's what the words you use. I can change it now for myself. I'm an adult, so I don't have to have this child's reaction anymore. But I found it useful to do what Brene Brown calls is just some inquiry into why is this going on? Where does it come from originally?
Yeah, and that's my number 3, which is start examining your limiting beliefs and change them into something which is not a limiting belief anymore, but will empower you, because that's examining your life, is examining your limiting beliefs. A limiting belief does what it says, it limits you. And if you transform it into a different belief, then you neutralize it and you start acting out your new belief system that you want to follow. Because you've got a choice. It's part of a reparenting process. You've got a choice to work through it and to change your old belief systems. It's just awareness. It's always awareness. We cannot change what we are not aware of. It starts with awareness. And this is basically what we're doing. We're having these talks so that we can all become aware that we are walking around unconsciously, subconsciously driven by a 3 or 4 or 5 year old, and we can become conscious in our own living life and start living our life mindfully, which means I'm present in my life now and I'm not being run by my old code anymore. I have written my new code, and I've written it in a way which is kind and compassionate to myself, and which gives me the best chance of being the best me, which is not the one which I have to go and flog to perform better, but the best me is the one that I've been born to be. Me. All of me, the way I am.
But it takes time, Louise. Last week you said, you just make the decision. You can't just, I couldn't just switch. When I got the awareness, it wasn't then immediate change. Awareness is huge starting point, but then it's about the process of catching yourself every time you triggered, seeing what's happening and making a different choice. And some of my very ingrained unhealthy patterns have taken a very long time, and some of them are still playing out, but I can see them now. And they're getting better and better, but it's not a flick of a switch. Am I right or wrong?
Some things are, because this is what I said last time. I said some things are you just get it and you never ever go back to it. And some things are bad habits and you've got to live yourself out of it. There really are certain things that once you understand the judgment you put on yourself and that you are doing all of these things to yourself, you get it. You don't want to go back for it. Now you've got a bad habit left. Now you've got to get rid of a bad habit. And we do that with practical exercises. That's why I give homework so much. And they're always simple, and it's always something you don't want to do until you've done it, and it changes your life. And you go like, what? Is it really that simple? Because if I'm outside of you, I can see there's a little simple action we can follow, which you are avoiding. And that is going to help you just see that this thing that we have just neutralized doesn't have to be in charge of your life anymore. And then you go out and you do that thing and it's wow, you know? So, Antoinette, do you have any more questions? Do you have any more questions?
Me? No, on this topic.
yeah, on this topic.
I think it just puzzles me, and I don't know, maybe you can shine a light on this, how I still am so deeply terrified of rejection. How it's like, it's amazing. I mean, I can see it now. I work with it. It's getting better and better, but it is so, so deep. And you see, the interesting thing is when you go out, some of us, like you were one of me, I know, we go out and we achieve. So I've got 3 degrees. I had a good business. I've traveled the world. I ticked all those boxes. But I didn't know until 3.5 years ago. I didn't know I even had this issue. I just knew things weren't okay. I knew I was constantly anxious. I was dissatisfied. I felt nothing was ever enough, not because I was greedy or materialistic, but I was never enough. I'd never achieved enough. And I couldn't see any of that. I mean, that's the incredible thing is because I looked so functional. I came across as a happy, healthy, confident, successful person. And I had to get really sick to wake up to the fact that all of that might have been fine, but nothing was fine.
You want me to go there?
Yeah, go there.
Okay.
Yes, go there.
Judgment, when we have a deep fear of judgment, it is because we judge ourselves. So we still judge.
Because we judge ourselves. Oh, okay. Wow.
You are not, as long as you judge yourself in any kind of way, you're vulnerable to outside judgment if you stop judging yourself. So we're talking about acceptance. And when you run a script, where the script says, I am only acceptable if, I'm going to give you homework. I am only acceptable if you go connect the dots and you report back here. Same place. Because it's going to give you some insight that there's still a limitation of when you are acceptable. I'm only acceptable if. My last one took about 5 years before I realized that I still didn't believe that I was lovable. It actually took longer than that. And it was hidden from me. I didn't know. If you don't believe that you are lovable, you're not going to put yourself out that easily. You've got to force yourself. And if you don't believe you are lovable, you're always going to work harder and you're not going to reach for more. But all these limiting beliefs have got the same effect. They are self-judgment. I am only acceptable if. So homework, and for anybody else there who want to go and do it, and you can go and type your comments in if that'd be interesting to see if there's anybody else who still has that script running there.
Why do we have that script? Because of the environment we grew up in, or?
Yeah, there's no simple answer for it. There's no one answer that fits everybody. If it was, we'd all be healed and fixed, and there'd be a Dr. Spock book on how not to be screwed up adults. But there isn't, because there isn't just one answer for everybody. Okay. It's a convoluted nesting of a whole lot of things that happened in our life. And sometimes it's a small and insignificant thing that happened that a small little child made big. And sometimes it's a lifetime of neglect. And sometimes it is rejection of a harshest kind. And sometimes it's just you didn't fit into your family. And very often is that you have parents who have their own wounds and they are just perpetuating their own wounds onto you because they're doing the best they can, but they didn't have tools. And you just inherit that same kind of flawed mindset and lack of coping tools, survival skills. That's what we flawed survival skills that doesn't really work. So no simple answer here, Antoinette. It's it's a process to work through. I've mentioned this before, but so next week I'm starting the self-worth challenge, which is a 4-day thing. But I have realized that the way to do it is to have online challenges which are small and bite-sized, and that builds upon itself. So after that, I'm going to do a 11-day limiting beliefs one, and we are actually more. I'm going to do about 50 of the most common limiting beliefs, but there's about 70 limiting beliefs. So there's a lot of this stuff. If you think about walking around with out of that 70 limiting beliefs, probably about 50 of them are floating around somewhere in you. And it's about time that we go shine a light on them and go like, okay, already enough. Some of them are sort of obvious, and some of them we say to ourselves, I'm just like that. Anytime we say to ourselves, I'm just like that, there's a little something we are missing, because we are carrying around some old belief system. So it's shining a light on it and becoming aware of it. Right. Is there any more questions, Antoinette?
Well, not coming up here for me.
Okay.
No. Can you see any?
Well, I don't know. Where are you on? On your side? Your Facebook?
I don't know. There were just these things from Paul coming up on the side. Oh, it's a private chat, maybe. Sorry, Paul. Maybe I wasn't meant to.
No, don't tell me that everybody could see it. Okay, so there's a lot. I've got 30 comments here, people.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe Paul didn't want me to share all that. I'm so sorry, Paul.
No, Paul wouldn't mind. I will speak for you. Right, Paul?
30 comments.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so there's one. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Miranda. There's Norma. Norma, we made it at last. And you've been
Thanks for hanging in, Norma.
Yeah. There's a nice one from Michelle there. Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle, you must come on. Michelle, another time you must come on and we will tell everybody about our nice big surprise coming up. And I'm just going to build a bit of suspense on that for now. We've got a wonderful surprise. Okay, Miranda said it was clear on this end. Okay, hi, Teresa. And there is Robin. I know that's Robin.
Hey, Robin. Hello. And Teresa. Wow.
Okay, there. Okay, I think one also needs to believe in oneself as well. Yeah, it's very true.
That's the core thing, yeah?
Yeah. You're going to like this one. I like that one. Robin, that's a great. Yeah. There, see, me and Robin here on the same page there. It's a nice one. Here, Teresa. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Teresa.
Okay, there's a nice one. Yeah, we can't fit everywhere. If we fit everywhere, we're trying to be Nutella. We're not supposed to be Nutella.
And you know what's amazing? I've got the best tribe now I've ever had in my life since I've been authentic. So how's that?
I've never ever. I have so many best friends. It's the most wonderful thing under the sun, and I have so much love and support and connection. It's like awesome. When I'm letting it all hang out, and I'm not trying to be perfect, and it's just wonderful. It's interesting.
Now, Robin said sometimes the pain happens in adulthood. Now, that's a very interesting comment.
Yeah.
Sometimes the pain happens in adulthood, so it's not always about the childhood.
You're going to have to come on and explain to us what you what you're saying, Robin. I want to say Sean Aaron. No, it's not Sean. So you need to come and explain to us what you mean, because I am quite likely to find a trigger inside that made you vulnerable to it.
No, or can't you have a very hectic external event? Maybe that could. Robin will tell us what she means, I'm sure.
Yeah, it would be great if she tells us what she means. Look, let's use one example. Say that you are an abused wife, and this guy comes around and he hits you around and he abuses you and he's nasty to you and he threatens that he's going to take your children away and he's stronger than you and he throws very mean punches and he intimidates you and you losing your friends. Your circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And now you lose your confidence. You started out being bubbly and confident in yourself. You managed to get somewhere. And now, little bit by little bit, this guy is chipping it away from you. And now you get to the other side of the experience and there's less of you there. Yes, valid. I agree with you, Robin. It's possible to lose yourself in adult. And a lot of us lose ourselves because we're in codependent relationships where we are not in the queue. We're not important to ourselves. But the other person is important, and keeping the other person happy, being sensitive to somebody else's needs and being scanning the room to see how we can fit in. So yes, now we lose ourselves because we start seeing how we can keep the other person happy and how we can stop harm to come to us, and we want to make sure our children doesn't get in the fire, so we calm everybody down and it's nothing about ourselves anymore, and we forget who we were when we walked into it. Now this is an extreme example, but this happens in all codependent relationships, that we lose ourselves. We eventually don't know who we are because it's so much about pleasing the other person and not losing the other person. Adult experience where we are not who we were when we were 19 and shiny-eyed and bushy-tailed and excited about the world. But here's the thing, behind this woman that allowed herself to be abused and who stayed in a relationship, even although before she got married to him, she saw the danger signs. And she nevertheless thought, I'll make it better. I will change him. I will work harder. I will fix it. It's my job. I will fix it. I'll be more. That woman walked around with childhood issues that didn't say to her, flip's sake, I'm worth more. You're not healthy enough for me, you bugger. Bugger off. You try and change me. You try and tell me my skirt is too low because you're insecure. No. Go find yourself another victim. I'm buggering off. That's it. There's the vulnerability that you had when you were 19 and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You didn't know that you are worthy of more. And therefore, you went into a relationship and you stuck with it. And you stuck with it. And you tried. And you believed that it was your job to make stuff better. And there you end up. Now it's 20 years later and you are now a battered woman. You're now an abused woman. So yes, it can happen in adulthood. But if you were vulnerable to it, because you were not validated as a child, then you're going to stay in it. You actually be a participant. You're going to enable somebody instead of walking away. So, so I think what we need to do is, so what we're going to do, okay, so if anybody wants to come on, what we're going to do is, okay, so Robin, if you want to come and talk to us, you can come on, you can follow the link if you have it. I don't know if you have it, but so anybody who wants to come on can come on now, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the broadcast, but so you're not going to be able to see us on Facebook anymore. Okay, there's the last one there. Okay, so yeah, thanks for that, Robert. It is. Yeah, if you walk around with a story, it's going to play out in your life.
Follows you.
It does. Okay, so what we're going to do, anybody still wants to come on, and if you have a link, if you don't have a link, remember, get on my mailing list. The link is on my mailing list always. So I'm going to end the broadcast. Everybody here is just going to sit quietly, and now when the camera's off, Paul, where are you going? He's been sitting there patiently, quietly, and now he disappears. Okay, so I'm going to end the broadcast, and then anybody who wants to come on can come on, and then we can chat afterwards. Okay. All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for being so patient this week.
This was the week of being patient, for definitely sure. Okay, so we're going to play our little song. We're going to end the broadcast and come back next week, Tuesday night again, Antoinette.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to see what needs discussion. Hey, we'll find something.
Well, maybe you guys can tell us. Is there anything you want to chat about?
Yeah, that's wonderful. If you want to, I mean, we still have all these other subjects we haven't discussed because we just have so much to talk about. I've got a few ideas, but I do want to talk to you sometime, Antoinette. I want to talk to you really about all this knowledge that you have about the mind-body connection and your journey through. I want to interview you. So we still want to do that. But so I love that idea. Thanks, Antoinette. So anybody who has anything specific they want us to talk about, please let us know. We are keen. We like this. I love stuff. Okay, guys. So thank you all for coming. And everybody in the audience, everybody in the studio, hang on, don't go away. And anybody else who wants to join, go click your link and join us. Okay. Lots of love to all of you. See you next week.
See you next week.
No long story, Antoinette. You give us a long story. Don't make me work so hard. Don't censor yourself.
I've said enough for tonight. Bye.
No,
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.